You're watching the Weiss channel. All right, today it's about pie graphs and bar graphs, okay? For example, if you have a big circle here, does it make sense that if this circle here is cut in half, that this section here would be 50%, right? Okay. So does it also make sense that this section here would be 25%? Okay. So if I asked you to make 27%, all I would want you to do is say something like this. Clearly it's a little more than 25%, all right? When you make a circle graph or a pie graph, all right, it's not gonna be exactly perfect. You just do the best you can. Just show that you understand that 27%, for example, is a little more than 25%. If you wanted to make 40%, you would do something a little less than 50%. If you wanted to make 55%, that would be something a little more than 50%. Okay? All right, so I had my statistics students tell me approximately how many text messages they send in one day. All right, well, so I had these responses here, okay? So the people who send between 2 and 99 texts in a day is 16. There were 40 responses in both of my classes. So you take 16 out of 40. Now, how do you change that to a percent? Well, you do 16 divided by 40, it equals. If you do 16 divided by 40, that gives you 0.4. 0.4 is 40% because you move the decimal 2 places, right? The people who sent 100 to 300 is 13 out of 40. Do 13 out of 40, you get 0.325, which is 32.5%. 350 to 568, there's 6 people. 6 divided by 40 is 15%. And between 600 and 12,689, that's 5 out of 40, or 12.5%. So now you make that into a pie graph, all right? You start with, let's say you start with the 16 out of 40, or 40%. You're gonna make a little less than half, right? And call that 40%. And you label it 2 to 99. The next one, we're gonna do 32.5%, which is a little less than 40%, right? So you label that 100 to 300, and you call that 32.5. And then there's 15%, okay? You're gonna have this section left over, and one is gonna be 15% and one's gonna be 12.5%. So this one is gonna be a little bigger than this one, and that's how you make your pie graph, okay? So we're gonna take this same information and we're gonna make a bar graph, okay? There were 16 people that sent between 2 and 99 texts per day. So you say between 2 and 99, the number of text messages per day, and the number of students, all right? And you go up to 16. Between 1 and 300 would be 13. Between 350 and 568 was 6. And from 600 to 12,689 was 5. And that's called a bar graph, which of course is different from a histogram, because a histogram, the bars are connected to each other. And in a bar graph, they're not. Okay. surveying 38 students, asking how old is your mom? All right, we had 5 out of 38 between 30 and 35. We had 16 out of 38 between 36 and 41. We had 10 out of 38 between 42 and 47, and 7 out of 38 between 48 and 52. So that was, so 30 to 35 is 13%. Probably the easiest way to do that is to start with 25% and make half of that, which would be 12.5%, which is close enough to 13%. I'm not looking for your pie pieces to be absolutely perfect, just to show that you understand that 13% is clearly much less than 25%. Okay, 16 out of 38 said 36 to 41. That's 42%, which is a little less than 50%, right? And then 42 to 47 is 26%, which is going to be a right angle, right? A right angle is a smidgen more than a right angle, because a right angle would be 25%. And then the rest, all right, this number actually rounds to 18%. But if you take all the numbers rounded, they only add up to 99%. So I'm going to ask you to change one of them so it makes 100%. Okay. And here we are with the same numbers for a bar graph. 5 students have moms between 30 and 35. 16 from 36 to 41. Right. We have 10 that are 42 to 47, and we have 7 from 48 to 52. And that's your bar graph. Okay. Now, I'm giving an assignment. Those, if you are not in class today, here's the assignment. I asked students to make a pie graph and a bar graph given this information. Here, I just took this survey in class, all right? This is how many students like cheese, how many like sausage, how many like pineapple, pepperoni, ham, and bacon. I'm asking you to make a pie graph and a bar graph based on this information, and I need that on paper. On one side of the paper, make a pie graph. On the other side of the paper, make a bar graph using this information. Use percentages for the pie graph, okay? And label each one. You've been watching the Weiss channel.